What if tomorrow you woke up to find your bank account emptied, your career in ruins, and your closest relationships shattered? No warning, no explanation, just silence where your life used to be. Most people would crumble under the weight of such loss. But what if you could face it with calm clarity, as if you had trained for this moment your entire life? This isn't a fantasy. It's Stoicism, a 2,000-year-old philosophy that teaches you how to thrive in chaos, no matter what life throws at you. For centuries, there have been people who lived this way. A man who lost everything in a shipwreck, yet went on to build a philosophy that shaped history. A slave who had no freedom, yet became one of the greatest teachers of all time. An emperor who ruled the world, yet reminded himself daily that power meant nothing if he couldn't control his own mind. This isn't just philosophy, it's Stoicism, a blueprint for resilience, power, and peace of mind. And yet, most people today either misunderstand it or have never heard of it at all. Some think Stoicism is about suppressing emotions, becoming an unfeeling machine. Others think it's just a collection of motivational quotes floating around the internet. But what if I told you that Stoicism is actually a complete operating system for life? One that can transform the way you think, the way you act, and the way you experience the world? Because here's the truth. The world will never be in your control. Your plans will collapse. People will disappoint you. Hardship will find you, no matter how carefully you try to avoid it. But the one thing, the only thing you can control is how you respond. And that changes everything. This philosophy has guided warriors, leaders, revolutionaries, and thinkers for over 2,000 years. And by the end of this journey, it might just change you too. Because today we're diving into the entire world of Stoicism. We'll uncover how a shipwrecked merchant turned his greatest failure into an idea that changed history. We'll break down the core principles that will allow you to master your emotions and thrive in any situation. And most importantly, we'll explore how to apply Stoicism in the modern world so that no matter what happens, you can stand strong, focused, and completely in control. This isn't just another philosophy lesson. This is everything you need to know about Stoicism. And once you understand it, you'll never see the world the same way again. Chapter 1. The Origins of Stoicism, a philosophy born from disaster. It begins with a disaster, a storm, a shipwreck, a man standing on the shore, watching everything he owned sink beneath the waves. His name was Zeno of Citium, and in that moment, he had lost everything. Most people would have seen this as the end, but Zeno, he saw it as the beginning. Drifting through Athens, uncertain of his future, he stumbled into a small bookstore. He picked up a scroll and began to read the teachings of Socrates, the philosopher who chose death over betraying his principles. Something inside him shifted. He no longer saw his misfortune as a tragedy, but as a lesson. Zeno sought out the greatest philosophers of his time, learning from the Cynics, who preached radical self-sufficiency, and from Plato's Academy, where deep intellectual debates shaped young minds. But he found that something was missing. Philosophy, he realized, wasn't meant to be just an abstract discussion. It had to be something practical, something that could help people live better lives. So he took his teachings to the streets. Instead of lecturing in grand halls, he spoke from the Stoa Porcile, the painted porch of Athens. His students? Ordinary people. Merchants, soldiers, politicians, anyone who sought wisdom. And so, Stoicism was born. It wasn't a philosophy for the elite. It was a way of life. Principles anyone could apply, rich or poor, powerful or powerless. From Athens, Stoicism spread. It reached Rome, where it was adopted by some of the greatest minds in history. And it evolved, shaped by the lives of three men who embodied its teachings in completely different ways. Epictetus, born a slave, proved that even in chains, a man could be free, because true freedom is of the mind. Seneca, a man of immense wealth and power, demonstrated that Stoicism wasn't just for those who suffered. It was also the key to mastering life's greatest temptations. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, wrote down his thoughts in Meditations, showing that even the most powerful man in the world was not immune to suffering, but could face it with wisdom and grace. These men from vastly different backgrounds all arrived at the same truth. We cannot control the world, but we can control how we respond to it. And that is where our journey truly begins. Chapter 2, the core principles of Stoicism, the 4 pillars of an unshakable life. Imagine a man standing in a burning building. Smoke fills the air. Chaos erupts around him. People scream, panic, run for the exits. But this man does not move. He remains still, calm, focused. He does not waste time blaming the fire, cursing fate, or panicking like those around him. He simply acts, doing what must be done, without fear, without hesitation. This is the Stoic mindset in its purest form, and it is built upon 4 unshakable principles. The first is the dichotomy of control. Most people spend their lives trying to control the uncontrollable. They stress over the past, worry about the future, obsess over what others think of them. A Stoic, however, sees the world differently. They know that there are only 2 things in life, what they can control and what they cannot. And they focus all their energy on the first, because everything else is just noise. The second is Memento Mori. Remember that you will die. At first it seems morbid, but to a Stoic it is a reminder to live fully, to stop wasting time on petty arguments, on fears that don't matter, on a life spent chasing things that will eventually turn to dust. When you remember that your time is limited, you stop postponing what truly matters. The third is amor fati. Love your fate. Life will not go as planned. Hardships will come. But instead of resisting them, a Stoic embraces them. They see every obstacle as an opportunity to grow. They do not just accept fate, they learn to love it. And finally, there are the 4 virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These are the guiding principles of a Stoic life: to think clearly, to act bravely, to treat others fairly, to master one's desires. These are not just ideas. They are the foundation of an unshakable existence. And once you internalize them, once you truly live them, nothing in this world can control you. Now that we understand the principles, the next question is, how do we apply them? Because philosophy means nothing unless it can be lived. And that's what we'll explore next. Chapter 3, the Stoic's Guide to Life, Mastering Chaos Without Losing Yourself. You're about to give an important presentation. Your hands are sweating, your heart is racing. What if you mess up? What if people judge you? What if everything falls apart? Or maybe you've just faced a major failure. You put everything into a project, a relationship, a dream, and it collapsed. You feel lost, betrayed, helpless. Or perhaps you're stuck in traffic, late for an important meeting, frustration boiling inside you. What do these situations have in common? They test you, because life will always test you. Every day, in ways both big and small, you will face challenges that threaten to pull you off balance. But here's where the Stoic sees the world differently. Most people react. A Stoic responds. Most people focus on what's outside their control. A Stoic focuses on what's within. And that subtle shift, from being ruled by circumstances to mastering your response, is the difference between a life of frustration and a life of unshakable power. Let's break it down. 1. The chaos of life. How to handle the unexpected. Like a Stoic. No matter how much you plan, life will surprise you. You could get fired. A relationship could fall apart. A sudden illness, an unexpected betrayal. Things you never saw coming. The question is, how do you face it? Most people panic. They resist reality. They ask, why me? But a Stoic asks something different. Is this within my control? This is the dichotomy of control in action. If the answer is yes, then take action. Fix what can be fixed. If the answer is no, then let it go. Accept it fully. This isn't passive acceptance. It's active mastery. Because once you stop wasting energy on things you can't change, you free yourself to focus on what you can. And that's where your real power lies. 2. Dealing with people. How to stay unshaken in a world full of chaos. Let's face it, people can be unpredictable. Your boss undermines you. A stranger disrespects you. Someone spreads false rumors about you. Most people react with anger. They let their emotions control them. They retaliate, argue, or carry resentment. But the Stoic, they remain calm. Why? Because they understand one simple truth. You can't control other people, only yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, 'Today I will meet people who are selfish, arrogant, deceitful, and ungrateful.'" He didn't say this to be pessimistic. He said it so that when those moments came, he wouldn't be surprised. He wouldn't be disturbed. He would remain unshaken. And here's the trick. When someone insults you, pause. Before you react, ask, "Does their opinion change who I am?" No? Then why waste energy? When someone betrays you, accept it. Their actions reflect them, not you. Move forward. When people disappoint you, expect it. And instead of being bitter, lead by example. This is what separates a Stoic from the rest of the world. They don't let others control their emotions. They stay in control. 3. Failure and setbacks, how to turn pain into power. Imagine training for months for a race, only to trip at the finish line. Imagine launching a business, only to watch it collapse. Imagine giving your heart to someone, only to be left broken. Most people see failure as an ending, but a Stoic sees it as a beginning, because failure is never the enemy. It's the greatest teacher. Seneca said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." The question isn't, "Why did this happen to me?" The question is, "What can I learn from this?" This is amor fati, loving your fate, not just accepting setbacks, but embracing them. If you fail a test, you don't complain. You analyze your mistakes, improve, and retake it stronger. If your business fails, you don't wallow. You take the lessons and build something better. If someone breaks your trust, you don't let bitterness consume you. You learn, you move on, wiser. Every setback is fuel. To the Stoic, there are no tragedies, only training. 4th, success and ambition, how to chase greatness without losing your soul. Most people think happiness comes from success, but look at history. How many wealthy, famous, powerful people ended up miserable? Because here's the secret. Happiness doesn't come from external achievements. It comes from mastering yourself. Marcus Aurelius had absolute power, yet every night he reminded himself that none of it mattered if he lost his inner discipline. Seneca was one of the richest men in Rome, but he lived as if he could lose it all tomorrow. A Stoic doesn't chase success for the sake of success. They chase excellence. You work hard, but not for applause. You do it because discipline is its own reward. You build wealth, but not for greed. You use it wisely, knowing it's temporary. You achieve great things, but you stay grounded, remembering that in the end, everything fades. This is Memento Mori, remembering that life is short. And when you truly understand that, you stop wasting time on ego, comparison, and superficial goals. Instead, you focus on what truly matters. 5. Overcoming anxiety and stress, the Stoics' secret to inner peace. Anxiety is the fear of the unknown, the worry about what might happen. But here's what the Stoics knew. The future isn't real. It's just a thought in your head. And the more time you spend trapped in fear, the less time you spend actually living. The solution? Focus on the present moment. When your mind spirals with what ifs, bring yourself back to now. When you feel overwhelmed, ask, what's the next small step I can take? When fear takes over, remind yourself, the only thing I control is what I do right now. This is the Stoic mindset. It's not about ignoring emotions. It's about training your mind to focus on what truly matters. The past is gone. The future isn't real. The only thing that exists is now. And once you master that, you master life. Closing, returning to the beginning, the Stoic's choice. So now let me ask you again, what if you lost everything tomorrow? Would you break or would you rise, stronger than before? This is Stoicism. It's not about suppressing emotions. It's about mastering them. It's not about avoiding pain. It's about transforming it. It's not about controlling the world. It's about controlling yourself. And when you do that, you become unshakable. Because in the end, life will test you. But only you decide how the story ends. The only question is, will you choose to live like a Stoic? Start today. Pick one Stoic principle, whether it's the dichotomy of control, Memento Mori, or Amor Fati, and apply it to your life. Write it down, reflect on it, live it. Because Stoicism isn't just a philosophy, it's a way of life, and it begins with you.